Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Metroid Prime. We're still in the Phazon Mines. We got to go fight a certain big boy in this part, so yay for
Bastard
that.
owes me 20 quid. I'm coming to collect.
You mean like that guy from In-N-Out?
Maybe.
So, I'm going to be honest at this point in the game. I don't actually remember if I've ever finished Metroid Prime.
This is definitely the low point of the game for me. Well, I guess artifact hunting's the low point, but if we're talking about like the areas, and it's disappointing because the Phazon is like a really cool like element and it has a unique look. So this area could have been really neat, but it's kind of just a lot of brown and like metal graded platforms.
So they were just ahead of the
together.
curve. They knew what was coming. They knew what the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 generation would be like, so they were just, getting a jump on it.
Yo, we gotta have all the brown that I am so glad that we are past the brown era of video game design. It was not the most, it's frustrating because not even every game from the early era of the PS3 and Xbox 360 was like that. Like, if you look at games like Dead Rising, BioShock, just as two examples that pop up to the top of my head that are
Uncharted
successful.
1 is another one.
Yeah, Uncharted, these are games that have distinctive art styles that, certainly, and maybe realistic is a stretch for like Dead Rising or BioShock, but they're certainly not cartoony games, but they still manage to have a very vibrant atmosphere. I think it might. I don't want to put all the blame on like Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4, but it certainly was like a big trendsetter. That in Gears of War, I think, was also another big game that like started the very brown sort of era of gaming.
Yeah. Ugh. But, it seems like gaming isn't alone in having a really visually annoying era to just that people just needed to put up with for a while. Movies, for example, had this era where a lot of films were really dark. And I don't mean thematically dark. I don't mean they were edgy. I mean they were fucking dark. You couldn't fucking see anything.
It's like a SNES with its gamma filter or the Xbox 360.
What years specifically are you thinking about for
Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Terminator Salvation.
So like late 2000s. Same time as the brown apocalypse in video games, actually, huh? Weird how that...
What a wiki think.
I don't want to put the blame on Dark Knight, for that either, but that was... Especially considering that Dark Knight definitely also has a lot of very striking scenes like set in broad daylight, too. So it's not like an entirely gloomy film to look at, for sure, but... I do, unfortunately, think that there were a lot of people who learned the wrong lessons from Batman Dark Knight, so it's just like, oh, we're gonna superficially do what that did.
I don't know where this weird notion came from that if it's dark out, then the audience shouldn't be able to see anything. But that appears to have been the notion that people got stuck with for a while. And it's so weird, too, because, like...
It's weird to me. Sorry, go on.
No, you go on.
I was going to say, it was interesting to go back in film history and all that, and note that for a lot of night scenes, especially big night scenes, they would film it in the day and just put a filter over the lens to make it quote unquote look like night.
What was the old statement they used to call it? Shooting night for day?
Something like that, yeah.
I think that was the old expression Hollywood used back in the early era.
Can you name a movie that did that?
A lot of westerns did that because it was
okay.
too hard to shoot in the night during that time.
Oh,
so.
Part of that was old style cameras, but even when we had better cameras, we would still shoot night scenes that were properly lit so the audience could see shit. I'm thinking the Terminator movies. You never really had a problem seeing things at night in the Terminator movies.
It definitely takes some, wizardry on the part of the tech crew, because shadows are a really big thing. Like you want the audience to be able to see what's happening, but you don't want to break immersion by by it being very obvious that the light's coming from somewhere it shouldn't because it's nighttime. But again, that's not saying that they shouldn't do it. They just, it just is going to take some work to make it look the way that it should. I agree though. It's like there's always a place for like dark movies, I guess both literally and figuratively in this instance, but
did that not count?
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I couldn't tell you what a lot of movies are like these days, because I can't remember the last time I went to a movie theater.
The last time I went to a movie theater was for Jurassic World Dominion. It was all right.
Final Destination Bloodlines, but that was because I was invited at like the 11th hour and it was basically free, so I was like, yeah, sure.
Free's free.
Exactly.
Free Death Room Goldberg machines.
And that one, it all starts with a penny. Although MVP of that film, piano.
So I've heard. I haven't seen it myself, so...
I say, if you know, you know.
Man, Ryan, you just do not give a crap about the enemies in this game.
Well, because there's a turn off switch right here.
Oh. All right, then. My one weakness.
Or you can just shoot one super missile in the middle of them and take them all out in one blow.
Yeah, but this way you use zero super missiles.
Exactly. Save resources.
Well, it is kind of funny if you do this part semi out of order. The first time you go through the corridor to the dynamo, the dude wakes up. And if you know that's going to happen, you can sort of murk him before he has the time to properly finish his initial animation. So imagine just waking up and the first thing you see coming out of status is like effectively a super missile coming at you with Mach 3.
This is a detail I always love, and this is I don't think this is the only Metroid game to do this, but in a lot of the Metroid games, if you unleash Metroids while there are other space pirates around, the Metroids will eat the space pirates if they're closer to them than they are to you.
Yep.
Which is just like a cute little detail. It's just like, yeah, no, the space pirates don't know how to control these things. They just like let them loose and run away before they can get eaten themselves.
In Super Metroid, on the way to the final boss, don't you just come across like a bunch of pirate husks?
Yes.
You come across a lot of desecrated husks.
I'm pretty sure if you touch them, they also disintegrate. Or that might be I think that's a thing in Zero Mission as well. There's definitely a cutscene where you see a Metroid eating a space pirate husk in Zero Mission.
In Zero Mission, off the top of my head, the corpses are there, but they're background elements, not interactable objects.
It's been a while. I could be wrong.
The only other time I could think of a Metroid game that did it was Prime 3, and it did it to a very nice effect, especially in Skytown and the Valhalla. Like, you just open the door, and then you'll just hear the noise, and you just see this corpse of someone who was trapped in there just disintegrate before your eyes, because you opened the door.
That is terrifying to think about too. That the Metroids do that pretty much. It's weird that they become less threatening in Metroid 2 as they get older. It's just like, oh wow, you were better as an embryo than you were as a full being. Wow, you suck.
Time for the dual power bombs to get to one missile expansion.
Yep. Not really worth, but it got to get it for 100%.
I mean, if you want to do a real challenge on the Phazon Mines, you do this without Spider Ball or Grapple Beam.
Oof.
That sounds miserable.
It is. Do you remember that room when we first came into the Phazon Mines in the last part?
Oh, with
that big
like
room
the huge,
diagonal.
The huge spider ball set piece where they expect you to go through with the spider ball.
Yep, and you have that big, like, diagonal window looking outside. Yeah, if you get in there without Spider Ball or Grapple Beam, you sort of have to do these really annoying and complicated jumps around the window frame to climb up and out. And that's the only way of getting out, because if you try and go through the way you're supposed to go, oh, that's Spider Ball. Yeah, I can't climb that. To get through this part, you just do a scan dash if memory serves. Or it's NTSC 1.0, you can probably just walk on the friggin' edge of the spider ball track.
I forgot how much this game loves like invisible platforms that you want to use the X-ray visor for.
Okay,
It's been
that's been bugging me. Why are we using the X-ray visor to see invisible things?
I'm sure there's some sort of bullshit sci-fi explanation if you read a log somewhere, but
I can't even think about it because X-rays is beta radiation. How does that show what you can't see other than... But then again, it is... Yeah, because beta radiation is just beyond the visible spectrum of electromagnetic radiation.
like so. Okay, so this is me maybe vastly misunderstanding the science, but like something is invisible because, well, or transparent maybe is the best way to put it, because like all the light passes through it. Like when you're when you're looking through a glass window, like light doesn't reflect off of that. So you see through it because there's no light that's reaching your eyes from being bounced on it.
Like, depending on how thick the glass is and the angle of it, it can refract it. But depending on it, it'll either be barely noticeable to, why does that look shorter than it should be?
So, like, if it was only visible to the X-ray visor, that would mean that the only light that it's reflecting is the like beta rays or whatever.
It's beta to gamma radiation, so that's just beyond ultraviolet.
So it's like this very specific spectrum of light that we can't see with our eyes.
Yeah, like, light, as we know it, is like one part of the electromagnetic radiation spectrum, and it's roughly in the middle.
Well, it's in the middle for how we perceive it.
How we perceive it, yeah.
Yeah.
But beta radiation can also be absorbed. It can pierce, but not fully pierce, so that's why they use it in medical reasons, because your bones can absorb it, but it'll go straight through your skin. Whereas alpha, a sheet of paper can absorb it, but alpha is a hell of a lot stronger. Like, if an alpha particle gets stuck inside your body, you got problems.
Anyway, I can't believe this science fiction game isn't fully accurate to science. I want my money back.
Okay.
Like, I think you can render beta radiation to be visible to the human eye without anything special. Oh, what's the isotope you need for it? It's not uranium. It's not the strontium. I think it's strontium-90.
I know that there's a H.P. Lovecraft story where, because H.P. Lovecraft was a neurotic fuck, the idea of the electromagnetic spectrum scared him because he was like, "There's colors I can't see," and so he made a story about how there are colors that you cannot perceive. Ooh.
To be fair, that man was scared of a lot of things.
I know he was a neurotic fuck.
He was an object fuck scared of his own shadow.
Yeah, and Jews. He was very scared of Jews.
Yeah.
Man,
Racism was strong back then.
yeah, but like even by the standards of his time, he did not like. it's just disappointing when it's just like, oh wow, the idea of like the Cthulhu mythos is really interesting and cool. It's like, oh, actually, it's not as cool when you realize Cthulhu is just the stand-in for the Jews, and then you're like, oh, that's not nearly as cool. Also,
Hey,
it's
I don't mind
racist.
I don't mind being a god monster that scares everyone.
Can't think of any other popular authors from the last 30, 40 years that have a similar viewpoint.
Oh man, no, I sure can't either. Wow. Sure is good that racism's dead. For real. Doesn't exist.
Is this the... Ah, yes, this is the one with the fairy ring.
There's a fairy ring?
Yeah, around... That's the only visual hint outside of the X-ray visor. This missile expansion's here. There's a circle made
Of
of mushrooms,
mushrooms, yeah.
and that's called a fairy circle.
Trying to
Isn't
fathom how he landed on this from the X-ray visor.
Dude, I don't even bother looking anymore. At the very
I do
least...
appreciate the attempt, Ryan. If this was NTSC 1.0, you can do a slide jump and get straight up there without having to do grapple beam nonsense.
Dang,
It does
so
look
close
like
yet
you
so
should just
far.
be able to barely get up there. though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where L jumping comes in handy, because if you do it on the surface of just the right angle, you gain just that little extra bit of height. to get up on the platform. Like, it's a bit tricky to learn at first, but once you feel it like once or twice, you can get it pretty consistently with ease.
Now, it's been a while since I played this game. I know that Metroid Prime will have like a little humming noise if you're close to a missile expansion. How like subtle is it in this version?
It's about the same to my ears.
Okay. Because it's like, it was always like a little bit too subtle for my taste in the original Metroid Prime. Not that it needed to be like obnoxious.
I mean, the way I used to do expansions before I had them all memorized is I went into the game's options and disabled the music, so all you had was the ambience, and that made it a lot easier.
I'm sure it does, but it also, I think that takes away a part of the game that I enjoy, so I wouldn't want to do it like that. Because I'm thinking there's like two extremes to this. You know, there's the one extreme where you don't have anything, which would be bullshit and bad, and I wouldn't want the game to do that.
The Metroid NES approach.
And then you have the, like, I would say the really intrusive versions. I'm specifically thinking of Zelda here, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where I specifically turn off the shrine detector in those games because I find it to be too distracting and just like, okay, yeah, there's a shrine here. Okay, well, I'm not. It like stops making you use the environmental cues and you just wait for the thing to go beep beep.
And even then, that doesn't help you for getting all the shrines, because a good number of them are just not able to be detected by it unless you do a puzzle or complete a specific side quest.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, again, I understand that, like, finding all of the secrets in a game definitely should be, especially in a game like this, should be a challenge, and you don't necessarily need to have them all, like, handed to you or made obvious, but I always felt that the humming in this game is a little bit, like, it could be a little bit louder or a slightly more distinctive sound. I'm not sure.
Is that you can adjust the sound balance to your preference in the options.
Yeah, I might need to try that next time I play, although I just...
You don't have to turn the music completely off if you want to. You can just lower it a little bit.
Yeah, I could try that for sure. Most of the music in this game is ambient anyway, so it wouldn't be too much of a loss, I suppose.
And if we were doing all scans, this would technically be the last room to have a pirate scan if we didn't do the Artifact Temple early.
Huh.
If you're doing all scans, there are a handful that are missable. Like, there's a bunch on the ship at the beginning, the frigate.
Let me think. Pirate frigate at the start, you're missing Parasite Queen, the Parasites, and the first Space Pirate log. Those are the big three. Map stations are limited.
And there's only a handful of other ones that can be missable in the main chunk of the game.
In the main game, it's every boss, every sub-boss, the Ice Shriek Bats, the Ice Parasite, the Aquadrones. There's a good number of them.
Yeah. The only thing about doing an all-scan run is, for one, I would be paranoid and I would want to scan everything. The other, and we mentioned this like way at the beginning, it does kill the pacing, especially if you want to read all of the scan logs.
And that's why when I did my recordings, I just made all the scan log reading, apart from like the lore scans, in a separate video. Everybody wins.
Yeah. Like and I mean, don't get me wrong, the writing in these games is decent. Like, there's a lot of cool backstory and lore and whatnot. And when you're like reading them piece by piece on the fly, it doesn't necessarily feel like an exposition dump. You know, you get more, you know, it tends to be more immersive than like if you were just literally reading the Wikipedia entry on these guys.
So, in the trilogy version onwards, you can have a lot of fun with this guy, because for whatever reason, they introduced a bug where it became vulnerable to power bombs, and that can speed this fight up something fierce. But if you skip this little intro cutscene, yeah, you can get the drop on him and just like immediately take out his armor in about 10 seconds.
He's not programmed to act if you skip the cutscene.
Nope. I mean, he'll still do his initial animations, and by that time, oh, are we skipping straight to the part where I won't cycle your ass? Yes, we are.
Yeah, I'm not that good at this boss fight. I don't play this game that often, so I'm kind of just playing it safe.
Where's a turbo controller when you need one?
Yeah, I know, right?
I also noticed that, does he have like a weakness to any specific beam or anything?
Nope.
Super missiles and maybe the plasma beam at a second, but generally soups is the way to go.
Yeah.
Like, the only way you can one-cycle them is with soups.
Yeah.
Suits.
I mean, same as throwing a thermos at this guy.
Hey, it's how he beat Mr. Freeze.
Omega, report in. Where are you? I'm at soup! What do you mean you're at soup? I'm getting souped!
Why are you getting soup at the Phazon Mines? Oh, man.
Why can't I hear anything? What's that gurgling noise? Oh dear God, she got to him, didn't he?
Now I'm just picturing Bruce Campbell from the end of Army of Darkness, working at the S-Mart, and then when the undead show up there, instead of pulling out a shotgun, he just starts throwing Campbell cans at them.
Yeah, so now the only way you can see him is with the X-ray visor,
visor.
and that's the only way you can damage him. You can't just blind shoot him like you can Metroid Prime. And I think it's for this reason, and this reason alone, that the X-ray visor is mandatory, regardless if you're just doing a casual or a speedrun.
Because he's specifically programmed to only take damage in the X-ray visor.
So long as it's selected. Yep.
So even the power bomb can't.
Now, the power bomb trick is only useful to get rid of his armor plating. And you need to be on the draw if you want to one-cycle him without having to do the armor phase again.
I get you.
Ooh, nearly. Like, nearly. If Ryan gets, like, the perfect shot at the right time, yeah, he could one-cycle it here and now. But, nope, missed the window.
Dang it, so close.
So close, though. Points for nearly
Oh, and now
there.
you have to knock all the armor off again.
Yeah,
Yep.
but that's where power bombs come in.
I used my last power bomb though, is the thing. So, like I said, I play this relatively safe.
Oh God! When he's out there with his charge shot sucking beam, he protects the ads.
Yep.
Unfortunately for the ads, they are not immune to a shockwave attack.
Friendly fire.
I know MMOs use ad as the terminology. I just like to call them tag-alongs.
I just call them mooks.
Yeah.
You see, I was confused because I've never heard anybody refer to, like, mooks that a boss spawns as ads before. I was like...
Yeah, it's common terminology in MMO players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing you gotta know about MMO players is that they love talking about stuff in the most mechanical, immersion-breaking way they can possibly come up with. So,
But why do they call them ads? Is it because they're obtrusive, like...
Additions.
Yeah, they're
additions?
to the boss
Okay,
fight.
that's dumb. I'm sorry.
monsters aren't monsters, see, they're mobs, and additions in the boss fight, they're ads. Everything's got to have an abbreviation. It's probably because in early MMORPGs, you would have to type out messages in the middle of a boss fight to strategize. So you would want to, like, shorten things down a little bit so you could type it out quickly. Of course, nowadays, you can't even type out a message quickly enough to do that, so...
Be even worse with, like, a touch-type keyboard on, like, a phone.
You know, I'm surprised that they're... I mean, to be fair, they do need to spend all the rest of their time calling you slurs for not tanking properly. So, you know, they just have to abbreviate everything. How else could they get it done? Oh, Luz, this boss is doing your favorite thing, the slam the ground shockwave attack.
Of course he is.
I mean, I've just always called them tag-alongs, but that's mainly because of Hitman, where your targets will occasionally just have, like, one or two goons that never leave their side no matter what. So it's just like, they're the friend that tags along when you don't really want them to.
I always just called them, like, mooks or enemies. Like, I never really had a specific term that I called them.
Ooh, so since this is last phase, we might get Plasma, or they might do the Rando.
Oh, so they choose a different beam type to be...
Yeah, to bother you with.
So, like, it starts with power, goes to wave, goes to ice, goes to plasma, and then after that, I think it just randomizes between the 4.
Has there ever been any scan log about why they didn't just put all the armor on them at once?
Nope. They all have an identical log, except they just changed the name of the beam. You might want to move a little bit to that. Never mind.
Yeah, that's uncharacteristically, like, slow of Samus. It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna stand here. Bitch, I know you can run at 500 miles an hour. Get moving.
1.2 and PAL onwards, they added this animation. In NCSC 1.0, it is completely different.
It is, and I miss it because it was cool.
I know, it is much better because in 1.0, you can see her body physically freaking out from the Phazon, and then she does like a cool sick pose at the end, and then you get the little jingle.
Was it particularly flash happy, that animation?
No. It was just a different animation. And unfortunately, by collecting it, we just unleashed the fishing Metroids into this area.
Yep. But we got to go back for a relic, so...
The Tunnel of Death.
Our suit's now made of pure radiation. What we don't know is that after this game, Samus has 7 toes for the rest of the series.
Well, look, could you stand still? I want to make some toast.
I'm thinking of a particular perk from Fallout 3 that you get for playing along with Moira's mad experiments and Megaton.
I know the one.
So you get
like, okay, how irradiation do you want it to be? Yes.
You gain a benefit from having high radiation. You still have to deal with the negative effects, I think, but it regenerates your broken bones.
cool. I love having not broken bones. Why do I have more of them?
And then you get adamantium skeleton, and then it's even easier.
You can get an adamantium skeleton in Fallout?
Yeah, Fallout 3, New Vegas, 4, not sure about 76. It's just a perk you can choose.
The Fallout series has an excellent sense of humor, and it definitely extends into the abilities you get.
God bless the mysterious stranger.
It's just like, I didn't know that Wolverine was from Fallout, is more the thing.
In the mysterious stranger's case, Ted, imagine a guy in a trench coat just mysteriously pops out of fucking nowhere, one-shots the enemy, and then dips from existence. Like, there's no explanation. He is there, he is gone. It is to the point in Fallout 4, Nick Valentine, one of the main characters of the game, is actively trying to find and arrest him.
What, for being too helpful?
For basically unwanted murder. And if he is with you when the mysterious stranger appears, he actually comments about it.
Hi, Vision Metroid.
These guys have a lot more
bombs.
health, if I remember, right?
Yeah, after
Yes.
you kill these big ones, they split into 2. Then when they split into 4. And then once those 4 are dead, then they're dead. Now, we could waste a power bomb and insta-kill them, but since we don't have those, we have to go for what I call the door strat. Where you just let them do this little ram attack, and then you just go through a door. They can't survive going through 2 rooms, so they just sort of spontaneously combust.
Save rooms don't refill your power bombs in this game? I thought they...
Nope.
And neither do missile stations. The only thing
You
that
have
does
to go to
is
the
your
ship.
That's annoying. Because save rooms also refill all your missiles, too.
No, they
Nope,
don't.
just health.
Just health? Okay.
It's been that way since Super Metroid off the top of my head.
I thought that, like, some of the newer games refilled all of your missiles at the save
The only
point.
ones that did that was, like, Prime 3, but that's because your main save point is your ship.
The only other game that I can think of that was particularly forgiving about missile refills was a whole other M, where you could stand in place for a few seconds and just get more missiles.
Oh, right, yeah. And Fusion was very generous with missile recharge stations.
Yeah, because there was always a missile charge station at the beginning of each sector in that game. Are you sure that oh no, in Dread there's missile refills are separate from save points. They're just always right next to save points for some reason.
It's the same methodology they had with Fusion.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it makes me wonder why they don't just combined them, considering that they're always right next to each other anyway.
The only other time I can think of that did that is Chozo and Zero Mission, where the save points exclusive to that region do recharge both.
Oh yeah, you're right, they do.
Chic.
No, you fool.
Man, these Metroids are annoying.
Yes, they are.
And this is why they never bring them back. We don't miss them.
Can you do the freeze missile thing to them at least?
Nope. Only if they're vulnerable to the ice beam. If then, depending on their color, they're vulnerable to different weapons. So yellow power, purple wave.
Oh, I see.
It's the same shtick with the beam troopers, except now they're small, portable, and like to attach them to your face.
These stupid.
Do you guys
Can't
ever
even
think
use them as
that like
platforms.
the Metroids would taste good?
What?
Like,
No.
No, they taste like water.
Like they look like they'd be really good gummy candies.
Man, gummy bears would be a lot different if it was Metroids.
Like, you know, like they think that they'd have like a softer outside, and then like the little 3 bumps in the middle would be like kind of like a little bit more chewy, and then you'd get some crunch from the teeth. Like, I think the Metroids would be a great candy.
Captain Crunch is going to have a hell of a hard time.
Oh, I did get
Oh,
up
wow.
here.
Nice.
Listen,
And,
Captain
Didn't
Crunch
even
is
need to do it in
used
this
to the
version.
controversy, all right? Captain Crunch used to get flack for having the cereal cut open your mouth while you ate it. So, you know, I'm sure that their lawyers are well prepared for your gummy candy literally trying to suck out all of the water from your body
And
as you try to
I think
eat
that
it.
Metroid we heard in the background either touched Phazon or ran into the door. If it touches a Phazon chunk, it just instantly explodes.
Huh.
The room after the Omega Pirate's the best way to show that off, because 90% of the time it just happens on its own.
Yeah, powerbomb. That's what
Finally.
I needed.
So this is the Phazon suit we're wearing right now, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
It does look really sick, I will say. It's definitely my favorite suit in this game.
This is not the original colour they intended for it, though.
What was
What
the
color
original?
did they
was-
intend for it?
It was more turquoise or sea green.
Huh.
I'll see if I can find the image there quick.
I guess that makes sense considering that, like, that's closer to the bright blue that Phazon actually is. Because if I were thinking, okay, what's a Phazon suit going to look like? Phazon, but here it's just like, oh, well, it's red.
There you go. It's in general.
Let's see here.
So that's the original colour scheme that's still in the game files.
Huh.
The reason they didn't use it was because it wasn't evil enough. So they went back to the drawing board and went for all black and red.
I don't think it's, like, all the way there yet. Like, I think if you really wanted it to, like, fit, you would want to go, like, a brighter blue, like, and have it glowing. And maybe, like, visibly mutate her suit.
I can only guess Phazon was a different colour at this point to make it match, because this is nowhere near the blue it is in Final.
Yeah. I feel like, though, if you went with the bright blue that it is in the final game, it would just kind of look like a lot like the fusion suit, and they probably wanted to differentiate the two of those.
Black and blue, with blue as the highlight. That can work.
Yeah, you could definitely make it work. The way that it is here, though, I don't. But the final game design is really neat, though. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys all in the next part where we do some cleanup.
Oh, joy.
Oh joy.